In the quiet town of Great Falls, Montana, neighbors started whispering about the strange man down the street. He seemed harmless until police uncovered meat grinders filled with hair, bones buried in the backyard, and a handwritten cookbook with recipes that named children.
It was the winter of 1999. Snow covered the rooftops in Great Falls, and the streets were quiet. Inside the small apartment building, tucked between rows of modest homes, a man named Nathaniel Bar-Jonah was about to become the center of one of the most disturbing investigations in Montana's history.
Nathaniel wasn't born in Montana. He entered the world in 1957 in Worcester, Massachusetts, under the name David Paul Brown. Even as a child, he was different. At just 7 years old, he reportedly tried to strangle a playmate. Police said he used a Ouija board to lure the boy into the basement and then wrapped a rope around his neck.
Over the years, his fascination with violence only grew. By age 15, David was arrested for impersonating a police officer. He had a badge, a fake radio, and handcuffs. In 1975, he lured an 8-year-old boy into his car by pretending to be a cop. The child barely survived the brutal attack that followed.
After serving time in a Massachusetts mental hospital, David was released, but he didn't stop. In 1977, he abducted 2 boys, tied them up, and tortured them for hours. One of them was hung upside down from a ceiling, and this time he was caught and sentenced to prison.
But even prison couldn't stop what was inside him. While behind bars, David legally changed his name to Nathaniel Benjamin Levi Bar-Jonah, claiming it was his spiritual identity. He was released in the early 1990s and moved west, starting over in a new state, with a new name, and no one around him knew who he really was.
Bar-Jonah settled in Great Falls, Montana. To neighbors, he seemed strange, but not dangerous. He was overweight, suffered from health problems, and limped when he walked. Kids at the local elementary school said he liked to hang around the playground, offering them rides and showing them magic tricks.
In 1991, shortly after arriving in Montana, he tried to drag a 7-year-old boy into his car in a parking lot. The boy fought him off, and Bar-Jonah was arrested. He received probation, not jail time, and was soon back on the streets.
Over the years, neighbors reported odd smells coming from his apartment. Some said they were invited to cookouts where the meat tasted strange. A few even joked that he was feeding them something weird, and no one realized just how close they were to the truth.
On February 6, 1996, a 10-year-old boy named Zachary Ramsay left his home in Great Falls to walk to school. It was around 7:30 in the morning. He never made it. His mother, Rachel Howard, reported him missing within hours.
Zachary was last seen walking down the street near Bar-Jonah's apartment. Witnesses said they saw a tall man with a limp walking close behind him. Police searched the area for days, and flyers went up around town, but Zachary was gone without a trace.
The case went cold for nearly 3 years. Then, in 1999, a tip from an out-of-state police officer reopened everything. Bar-Jonah had been previously investigated for child abductions. Now, he was living in the same neighborhood where Zach disappeared.
Investigators secured a warrant and searched Bar-Jonah's apartment. What they found inside shocked even the seasoned officers. There were handwritten recipes with kids' names, like Little Boy Pot Pie, French Fried Kid, and Lunch Stew with Zach.
In the kitchen, police discovered meat grinders with human-looking hair tangled inside. His freezer had odd-looking meat that was wrapped in plastic and unlabeled. DNA tests were inconclusive, but neighbors told reporters they had eaten meat at his cookouts that tasted weird.
Outside, in the backyard, they found bone fragments buried near the porch. Some were later identified as human, but too degraded to link definitively to Zachary Ramsay. And still, the evidence kept growing.
Police uncovered a coded journal filled with disturbing drawings and notes. In one section, Bar-Jonah described killing, cooking, and eating young boys. He wrote about how to butcher a child, how long to boil meat, and how to store body parts.
Detectives also found children's clothing, photos, and undelivered letters to young boys across the U.S. Some were lured through fake pen pal ads. The full scale of his obsession with children was finally coming into focus.
Bar-Jonah was arrested in December 1999 and charged with multiple counts of kidnapping, sexual assault, and aggravated assault. Oddly, he was not charged with murder. but without Zachary's body, prosecutors couldn't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
During the trial in 2002, several boys testified about what Bar-Jonah had done to them. One described being choked unconscious. Another said he was tied up, hung from a hook, and assaulted. Jurors were shown pages from the cookbook and graphic details of Bar-Jonah's writings.
The jury took just hours to convict him. Bar-Jonah was sentenced to 130 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Outside the courthouse, Zachary Ramsay's mother wept, but said she still believed her son might be alive somewhere.
Nathaniel Bar-Jonah spent the last years of his life in Montana State Prison. In 2008, he died at the age of 51 from a blood clot and heart failure. There was no confession or no final words. And if you like insane crime stories like this, check out the playlist on your screen now. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button.